My name is, for those of you that don't know, my name is Tom Mumming, and I am president of the Historical Preservation Commission. During this evening's performance and social, feel free to help yourself to the refreshments throughout the evening. Please, eat them up. I don't want to have to help carry them home. I'd like to acknowledge Sharon Farrington. Shannon, I'm sorry. I always do it wrong.
Wait a minute, am I in trouble for something? Because then you can call me by another name.
Shannon is our local author here in Rising Sun and has written one book and in the progress with another one, correct?
It's out. It'll be out in October.
It'll be out in October. Do you have a title?
The second one is called An Unlikely Union.
And the first one?
Her Rebel Heart.
Okay. Two books that were written in the Civil War period. I can tell you that the first book is a very charming book, and if the second book is as good as the first book, it's well worth picking up and buying.
Thank you.
Let me give you a few facts about the harp. We all, when we started planning this thing, we thought of our historical preservation. And we thought, you know, the harp is probably one of the oldest, and I can correct that, it is man's oldest instrument. It dates back to, you can find evidence of it as far back as 300, 400 BC. So no one knows the exact time period who invented the harp, but the early instruments were from, they had hair and plant fibers for strings. At that time, in that early period of time, the harp was played mainly sitting, standing, or in their laps. It wasn't as large as that beautiful instrument over there. Drawings and pictures carved in stone appeared in various sites, particularly in Egypt. There seems to have been a lot of pictures and carvings in Egypt dealing with the harp. The earliest that the harp appeared in the British Isles appeared around the 8th century. And it was on a stone cross at a church. And that's where a lot of people connected the church with the harp, is from that early period of time. In the Middle Ages, they started using metal for the strings, various types of metal. It wasn't all just one. As a matter of fact, one of the metals was gold. That would make you a little leery walking outside with that thing, and especially in today's age. The metal gave the harp more value. And the interesting thing I found in doing this little research project is the harp was all around the world at that time. Egypt had it, Europe had it, Asia had it. Not all of them the same, but for some reason, and let's face it, they didn't have cell phones and CNN and Fox News to spread the word about the harp, but somehow or another, the harp traveled to the different countries. The harp really began to evolve in the 17th century with added strings. The original harps, if I remember my reading correctly. Some of them were 9-string and some 15-string, and that was the most they had. I'm looking there, wondering how many strings we have on that one right there.
I believe 83.
Pardon?
83, I believe.
83? Whoa. I wouldn't be able to pluck 4. In the 17th century, they added the strings, the pillars, the levers, and pedals to enhance the sounds, as well as earlier when they did it. The single-action harp achieved great popularity through the 18th century, as was evidenced in the French court by Marie Antoinette. And Marie Antoinette is credited with being the most famous player of that instrument. She lost her head over it. Bad joke. Another person of notoriety, some of you might be able to relate to, because it took place in those of us that are grade-topped period of time. He taught himself how to play the harp, but he never was able to read music or write music. His other profession was in the theater and comedy. And he had 2 other brothers. Does anybody know who that was?
It's one of the Marx Brothers.
Pardon?
One of the Marx Brothers,
It
probably.
was the second one.
Okay.
Harpo Marx.
Yeah.
Harpo Marx was a player of the harp. And isn't that odd? His name was Harpo, and he played the harp. Wonder how that happened. As music evolved, it was also necessary for the harp, if it was to maintain its popularity, to move with the times. Instead of only being limited to 8 major keys and 5 minor keys, it had become vitally important for the harp to play in all keys. That's what's telling me that 83 strings are,
That was an error. 83 pounds, 51 strings. Sorry.
okay, well, it's still a lot of strings. As a result of this need, a patent was issued in 1810 for the double-action pedal harp. The strings are now able to produce and I know nothing about this, a flat, natural, and a sharp.
Yes.
Okay, she knows, I don't. Depending on the position of the corresponding pedal, this allows the harpist to play every key. The 21st century holds great promise for continued popularity of the harp. From medieval to modern, from classical to jazz, from acoustic to electric, the harp is an instrument steeped in tradition, yet open to change, and for many, it's more than a mere instrument, it's a calling. So with that, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you hear the wonderful music of Wendy Falko. Wendy?
My name is Wendy Falko. I'm going to give you a little history of how I started harp playing. First of all, my name is Wendy. I'm married to my husband, Genna. We've been married for 19 years. We have 8 children. So thank you for having me here this evening and getting me out of the house. We homeschool, so I need a break sometimes. So I'm with them 24/7. So this is a nice time for me to get out and just have some quiet time. When I was younger, my dad was a music teacher. He was from Russia. My mom was from Argentina. My dad didn't give us any choice. We had to play music. The only instrument he did not play was the harp. So I didn't even know about the harp. I don't even think I even knew what it looked like when I was younger. So my brother and I both were required to play piano, so we both took up piano. He took the brass, I took the woodwinds, and so that's how it went. Until I was 9 years old, and I came home one morning, and I looked in my living room. My parents were sitting on the couch, and there was a troubadour harp sitting in front of them. And the troubadour harp is just a little bit smaller than this, and it doesn't have pedals. It has levers on it. So the way that it works is you have a natural strings, and then if you want to make it sharp note, you put the lever up, but you have to actually tune it to flats. Very different than the pedal harp. So I said, wow, that's nice. What is that? And they said, that's a harp and you're going to play it. I said, oh, okay. Well, that's history. That's how I learned to play harp. And they got me a private teacher, and that's how I started playing, just from walking in. Now, my mom is from Argentina, and she says that the harp is a big instrument in Spanish countries, and that was a big thing that she loved her whole life, and she just wanted me to learn it. So being the obedient child that I was, I did what she told me to do, and I'm glad I do it. It's fun and enjoyable, and we love music in the house. And unfortunately, all my kids don't like the practicing, but they're also required to play piano and other musical instruments as well, so they'll be happy one day when they're older. So that's pretty much the history of how we started. Now, when I turned 16, I had been playing from 9 until I was 16, and my dad gave me an option. You can have a car or you can have a big harp. That was my choice. I said, well, I can't really ride a harp around, so I chose the car, and they bought me the harp anyway. Kind of figured that would work. So the way that it works with this kind of harp, yeah, so you kind of figure how to do things, is you have, if the pedals are in the middle, they are all natural, and all the strings will play natural. And if you want your octaves and your keys to be in flat, you would put your pedal up. And what that does is there's 7 notes. You start with C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So you start with the C, and if you want the C to be flat, you just put up the C pedal, and all the C's will be flat. If you want them to be natural again, you put them down. If you want them to be sharp, you put the pedal all the way down, and it changes all the C's octaves in the whole harp. So that's how the pedals allow me to play any key, in the music in any key, because you can change them. So that makes it a lot easier than playing with the troubadour, where you have to tune the whole instrument to a flat note. And now you don't have to, you can just use the pedals, so it makes it really nice. Now, harp is nicely listened to when you are relaxing, enjoying, talking amongst yourself, mingling, because it's kind of like a background music. It's not really one of those instruments, like if you go to a concert, you can't really just sit and listen to a harp. You kind of mingle and enjoy in the background, kind of like elevator music. So enjoy it, and amongst yourselves, mingle and have a good time, and listen. doing with the vowels right now.
We have the mayor here. We can try to officiate.
Okay, so I'm Jonathan Falco, for all of you who don't know me. Some people were asking questions before about the wood. The top is made out of cherry wood, and the back of it is a different kind of wood, and the pole is made out of maple wood. It's, as Mr. Tom said, it's the oldest instrument. They played it back in the 300 BC period of time. David also played it when in the Bible. David, he wrote songs about it. With it, he wrote songs with the harp. It was a miniature harp. It was about this big, and he played it for the king. In the Bible, there's this book, the book of Psalms, and there's a whole bunch of songs that David wrote and with the harp. The earliest harps were developed from a hunting bow. The paintings from ancient Egyptian tombs dating from as early as 3000 BC show an instrument that closely resembles the hunting bow, without the pillar that we find in modern harps. The angled harp came from Egypt to Egypt from Asia in about 1500 BC. It was built from a hollow sound box joined to a straight string armed at an angle. The strings possibly made of hair or plant fiber, like Mr. Tom said. They were attached to a sound box at one point and tied to a string arm at the other. The pedals, they're connected to a bunch of metal rods that go up the base, up the back of the harp, and they come up to about right here, and that's how they all tune up to it. During the Middle Ages, the pillar was added to support the tension of extra strings. Stiffer string materials like copper and base metals, they were placed along the side of the harp. When the player manually turned a hook against the individual string, the string's pitch was raised a half step. Modern non-pedal harps are built greatly advanced sharpeners, levels installed for each string, which produced a very good tonal quality when engaged. Levers are generally moved when the left hand, and skilled players can achieve changes very quickly. In the late 1700s, that's when it started to be really, really popular, and it started to be played all around the world. Many people consider it one of the best instruments. I think it just sounds so pretty, and all the details on the harp, that's just a work of art right there. The harp cost about $10,000 to $15,000. A really good, nice harp that professionals play could cost up to $32,000. Sometime before 1720, a mechanism was developed in order to meet growing demands from harpists for an instrument that was capable of a broader range of pitch. There's 51 strings on the harp. They're very, very, very nice pitched. I enjoy it. I was falling asleep because the sound just puts you to sleep. Every time I hear the harp, I just think, how could anybody create such a beautiful instrument? A music evolved. It was also necessary for the harp, if it was to maintain its popularity, to move with times. Instead of only being limited to 8 major keys and 5 minor keys, it had become vitally important for the harp to be able to be played in all keys. As a result of this need become vitally important, Sebastian Arad obtained a patent in 1810 for the double action pedal harp. So they think he was one of the more finer players. He was the one who brought it to life a lot. And then it took off from there. It's played in Spanish countries. It's played in Asia, Egypt, America, and it's one of the finest instruments there is. And back then, they didn't have real tuners, electric tuners like they do now. They had to tune each string individually. Now we can just hit a string and use a batterized tuner, and it just tells you if you're on tune or not. Back then, I don't know how they did it, but it probably took them a long time. Thank you.
Jonathan, did you
want to tell them where you fit from 1 to 8? Where are you?
Oh, I'm the second born in our family.
And do you play?
I play the clarinet, the guitar, and the piano. I play lots of duets with my brothers and sisters for clarinets and Christmas bands and stuff.
please make your way over to the food table.
David.
and
It tastes
drink?
better when you hear the music in the background. David, you have to take a picture from here. It's a good shot.
could see George and Martha dancing in that one, you know, how they. jazzy songs.
I don't.
Is
It's
it
not
possible?
my style.
Is it possible? I
Oh,
mean,
yes. We
yeah.
have, there's a Christian gentleman that actually plays, his name is Greg Buchanan.
Greg.
And he has an electric guitar. It's the size of this, but he has added all kind of stuff, and boy, he really lets it have it. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh.
But he got have it in you. I mean, he just,
Yeah.
all the gospel songs, he has jazzed it up, and he's a
Greg
great
Buchanan.
person to listen to.
You mean it's electric harp, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the size of this, but he actually made his own harp electric.
Wow.
So he plugs in, you've got these speakers, I mean, it's
I
just,
knew that name, Greg Buchanan, I knew that name for anywhere.
yeah. I mean, he's a professional harpist, I mean, you've probably heard of him, but he is phenomenal, and he is jazz all the way. So, yeah.
How close is that to a piano? Because I know they're both harps, and I'm saying you're playing.
Well,
this-
if you open up a piano, this is what you'd see
Right,
inside.
exactly.
So it's very much the same. Actually, the keyboard on the piano is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C.
Right.
It's the same thing here, it's the octave.
'Cause
Just that
you're-
instead of playing this way, you play this way.
I see your primary playing right-handed, and you got the other chords like to the left.
Same thing, yep. It's
Yeah,
just like on the
okay.
piano, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very similar, and the keys are all the same. You can go in the same
Yeah.
order, everything. So if you know piano, it's very easy to play harp.
Yeah, well, I've some of the songs I heard you playing, I've heard them on piano, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, you can pretty much take piano music and
Yeah.
most of the time you can play it. Sometimes you have to fix a couple
So
things.
is your
here
music
and there.
actually written for harp?
Some is for piano.
Okay, but I mean, there is harp music. per se.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of harp music.
Okay.
I enjoyed hearing canon and D on the harp. You always hear it on the piano.
Yeah, or the organ or
It's
something,
better
yeah.
that way.
Yeah, it's a very popular song at weddings. So.
And do you carry separate insurance for that?
Insurance, well, you can.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
My husband always wished I could have played the flute, but a little easier to carry. But
Now you lean it on
Mhm.
you? when
you pretty much hold it with your knees,
Oh.
so you
okay.
you have freedom to move, but it kind of just rests on your shoulder. So if you just lay it on your shoulder, it's kind of heavy, but yeah. And it's carried in a very interesting way because it's bottom heavy. So you can't just pick it up, it's very awkward. You have to kind of lean it a certain way and carry it out with your strong arm. So,
Is that standard size?
yes.
Did they get bigger?
They do. There's there's two models actually above this one. There's a model, this is a model 17, there's a model 23 that has actually a gold-leafed crown on top.
Okay.
So it sets up probably about this much higher.
Used to be a guy who played in Nashville, Tennessee. Are you familiar with that one? In Nashville, they have like a indoor, like a jungle almost. This guy used to be, and it's all glassed in, this guy used to be a pie playing.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Hmm. Any more questions? This is the time, huh?
Jonathan's remark about falling asleep, I remember reading that that was one of the purposes of the harp.
To relax.
The harp was the instrument for the king and queen. And if they had a particularly day that was full of tension and that sort of thing, they would have harpists come into their sleeping quarters and play them to sleep. That was one of their purposes. I found that interesting that you follow the king and queen.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work for babies. Only the car ride works for that.
Do you have one more?
I
Or
can do one more.
If you have one more, phenomenally. And then we'll have fireworks